The news media has focused recently on the impact social media has on children and their mental health. Now, Peter Gray is a well-known research professor of psychology, late of Boston College in America. Peter specializes in developmental and evolutionary psychology. His book, coming out in September, explains why he has an alternative view that social media does not have an impact on children's mental health. He puts forward this view when I interviewed him last week. In your new book, do you tackle, because it's big news at the moment in the UK, social media and children under the age of 16? Because, of course, Australia has put in a ban. Do you think America will do something similar?
I hope not.
Mm.
One of the things I have really looked into, I've read Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation. I've read all that research, and it's mistaken. Let me say it's just mistaken. The
Right.
research does not support the theory that social media is the cause of the high rates of anxiety and depression. There are actually hundreds and hundreds of studies that have been
Yes.
ignored by the people making that case.
Interesting. Good.
Nobody who really does research in this area agrees with the view that this is the cause of the high rates of anxiety and depression.
Yes.
There are lots of, so there's no significant correlation overall between how much you're on social media and whether or not you are suffering from this. Moreover, so what these people emphasize is the very recent increase in anxiety and depression between about 2010 and 2018. There was a fairly steep increase in anxiety, depression, suicide in the United States
Yeah.
and in the UK, but not in the rest of the
Nope.
European
Yeah.
Union.
That's
In
correct.
fact, the suicide rate went down in the rest of the European Union. The rest of the European Union was not deprived
Mm.
of social media.
Social
Kids
media.
were on social media every bit as much there as in the United States and the UK.
Yeah, exactly.
What happened in the United States and the UK that's different, and that is there were drastic changes in how schooling is done.
Yeah.
There was in the United States what's called Common Core. There was in the UK the
Sounds very
change that
familiar.
was initiated by Grove when he was in charge of education there. And what I summarize in my new book is multiple lines of evidence showing that these changes in schooling made school far more stressful than it was before, and that was the primary reason for the increase in
Yeah.
anxiety and depression over
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Occurred to some extent in Australia also, but throughout most of the rest of the world, there was no increase in these things as a result of
Mm.
of
Social
social
media.
media.
Yeah.
There are just it's possible by picking and choosing, cherry picking the studies you look at to make a case. But if you really look at all the studies combined, the evidence simply isn't there that that's the problem. Now, that's not to say that there aren't some problems and that for some kids it's a problem,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's not the primary cause of the rise in anxiety, depression. Yeah, that's too simple. So I think people like that solution because,
Yeah. Yeah.
first of all, it points the finger at those greedy social media companies, which we want to blame, instead of pointing the finger at so much of the other things that we as a society are doing, which
To
are
expose our children
interfering
to.
with children's freedom and children's opportunity, and especially the things that we're doing in schools, which are really, really harmful to children.
I am looking forward to this book. Perhaps we can have another conversation once the book is out in September, or knowing
Yes.
publishers, maybe October. But thank you very, very much indeed for this afternoon's discussion. We are most grateful here in the UK, indeed, NAPE. So thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye to you, and thank you.